breaking and entering, drunk and disorderly, law and order. A former prosecutor and a defence barrister, not your usual pairing. And the result? Conversations about crime and punishment that are guaranteed to get you thinking.
Welcome to Justice Matters, a weekly podcast with Lizzie Green and Jay Merchant. Our episodes are every Monday on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and YouTube. Follow us on Instagram at Justice Matters Pod for clips. Enjoy the episode. This episode deals with artificial intelligence, its impact, and references suicide. Discretion is advised. Morning, Liz.
Good morning, Jay.
How are you?
I'm very well. How are you?
Yeah, I'm good, thanks.
So I feel like we've done some pretty gritty,
Heavy
topics recently. And so I thought, let's go somewhere different.
Sure.
And I've been reading a lot and hearing a lot about AI
Yes.
and its impact on the law. And I thought, that could be a good one to have a look at because it touches a few different areas. And I definitely am not a technology expert.
Okay.
And I'm sure that even some of the things that I read, which were dated, recent years, are possibly already outdated because it moves so quickly. But I did dig into it a little bit. And so I'm going to talk about AI and the law, but I've got three sort of heads of argument.
Perfect.
So one of them is about, facial recognition and other tools like that for predictive policing.
Okay.
The next one is about how AI is impacting courtrooms.
Yes.
By lawyers' use or
I see what you're saying.
judges'
Yes.
use.
Yeah.
Yes. But then, Jay, I came back to a little bit more gritty stuff because one of the things that kept coming up as I was reading about AI is the impact on teens in particular and chatbots in particular, and the fact that they have been linked to suicides and to
horrible.
violent crimes. And
That's
so
horrible.
I couldn't quite get away from the tough stuff. But let's start
Let's get into it.
Yes. So, everybody knows AI, artificial intelligence, and the capabilities just are huge as we keep progressing through. But one of the things, and I've been interested in this topic easily for 10 years. I started writing an article about it a long time ago about predictive policing. And it's this idea that the police be proactive. And it's not just through AI, but, examining crime patterns and, that sort of thing. But AI has made that a lot easier to do. And so there are a lot of jurisdictions with this sort of idea of predictive policing and facial recognition plus algorithms that study data are the primary tools, as I understand it, to try and work out who or where crimes might be committed.
Okay. Yep.
So I've looked at a few different jurisdictions, and one of the problems, I think, is that the regulation around things like the use of facial recognition AI, but even the AI platforms themselves, there's not a lot of regulation around that. And so what has come out is that there are issues or concerns that need to be regulated. And there's definitely moves towards that, but I think it has to be more across the board.
Yeah. So in terms of facial recognition, we've got privacy issues there, right?
That's right.
And who's collecting the data? What are they doing with that data? And where is it going?
Well, and one of the other things is where is the data coming from? Because what has emerged is that the potential for bias, even with an AI platform, is still huge. And that's because...
What do you mean by bias? Sorry.
So let me tell you.
I've got to jump the gun.
No, that's all right. I've got a good example. But bias in the fact that obviously and I say obviously, but I'm not a tech person, but AI works on examining data.
Yep.
To come up with patterns or information or whatever it might be.
Trends, yep.
And so when you think about historically what we know, and I'm talking not just US, but the example I'm giving is from the US. But the data, we know that Black people are overrepresented in the criminal justice system, that they get targeted more often.
Yes, they do.
They get arrested more often. And so when you think about those trends of data, which may not truly reflect the criminality, because we know that there are unfairnesses that have been established, but the AI is going off that historical data. And so it's happened in the UK as well. It's happened in Canada and Australia, that the algorithms are relying on human-entered data, which can be in itself racist or
see what
flawed,
you're saying. Yeah.
you know?
Yeah.
And so and we're getting technical really quick, but there's this thing that I had never heard of before called black box AI.
Okay.
And so black box AI, as I understand it, is that the user can see what they input and they can see what AI outputs.
All right.
But the processes are hidden. And so government authorities are saying, oh, we use black box AI for privacy and protection. But it means that it's not transparent. It means that what's actually being utilized in the algorithms is not disclosable. And so then there are problems. And so there's all of these calls for the opposite, which is apparently glass box AI.
Sunlight is the best disinfectant. Show it.
But so these are things that, honestly, until this week, I'd never even heard of before.
For sure.
But make me realize that we need to move with the times. We have to use AI. And we've been talking a lot about it in a teaching context, that we need to teach our students how to use AI. It's an amazing tool.
It is, can be.
But it can't replace things. And I think that's where I come back to.
Okay.
But so there was this example from Chicago, and this was in 2013. So Chicago trialed a predictive policing model where they would put in information data from historical arrests and crimes and that sort of thing, geography, and then this AI program would come up with output of who might be likely to commit a crime, where they might be likely to commit it, or who might be a victim of serious crime. So that was the scope of it. And they called it the Strategic Subject List, but it was also known as the Chicago Heat List. So it was discontinued in 2019.
I have a problem with it.
Well, wait till you hear. So I'm giving you a case example because
cool.
I think case examples are always the best. But so it was a guy who was called Robert McDaniel.
Okay.
And so Robert McDaniel was just at home on this one particular day. I think he was one of 12 kids.
Wow.
And he lived in this little house. And so he's just at home. There's a knock on the door. He was making lunch for his family, and he went to answer the door, and there was 2 police officers in uniform, a neighbour of his who was working with the police, and another guy, quite muscular, standing there with them. And he was like, wow, what's going on here? And they were like, oh, Mr. McDaniel, we need to speak with you. Can we come in? And he was like, well, sure, come on in. And so they told him that they had, on the basis of their predictive policing model, identified him as someone who was 99.9% more likely to be involved in a serious crime, although they could not
to commit it.
Well, they couldn't clarify if it meant he would be a perpetrator or a victim. So they were just coming to talk to him. So police officers weren't a new sight for McDaniel. They did often drive down.
So he had some history.
Well, he did a little bit of minor drug history, but nothing violent, nothing serious. But his neighbourhood, police would often have a presence in his neighbourhood, making stops and arrests. Apparently, out of the 775 homicides tracked in 2020, 72 of them happened in that area. So that's almost 10% of the city's murder rate in a region that takes up just 3% of its total area. So it wasn't the best area geographically.
Yeah.
But he just couldn't quite understand what they wanted from him.
Well, they couldn't even articulate. It sounds to me like they didn't know if he was going to be the perpetrator or the victim.
That's right. The data said it could go either way.
Mm.
Okay. So he's told he's either a potential victim or a potential perpetrator. He hasn't done anything wrong.
Yeah.
He's just standing there making lunch. But what's happened is everyone in the neighborhood has seen this little convoy led by 2 police officers enter his house,
Yep.
stay for a little while, and then off they go again. And McNeil doesn't go with them, so he hasn't been arrested.
Right.
So what do people think?
Well, he's daubed something in.
That's right.
Yeah, I mean,
he's a snitch.
And it's dangerous in neighborhoods like that.
It really is. And so he was very bemused on that day, but the flow-on effect was actually really bad for him. So he was approached by some of his neighbors, "What's going on, mate? You know, what's the story?" And he's like, "Nothing, like nothing happened. I didn't do anything. They weren't really investigating anything." But he said, and this was an article in Rolling Stone magazine, he didn't ever report stuff that happened to him to the police because he didn't want to, because he said, "I'm actually not a snitch."
Yeah.
And
loose lips sink ships.
And it hadn't done him any good having contact with the police in the first place. But so he said, "They want to know why all these motherfucking cops are here talking with me. And you know what? So do I." He had no violent history. They had no reason to approach him and put him in this position. So the officers had said to him, "Look, we'll just be keeping an eye on you in case you're a victim." And they did. They kept an eye on him. They started hanging around his workplace. They looked for opportunities to go after him. They questioned his managers about his activities and his whereabouts. He said that everywhere he looked, it seemed like there was a police officer waiting for him, ready to search him or to seize him.
Well, he didn't know.
No, he didn't know.
I mean, so he's living with this presence and he has no idea why it is.
And they went in one time to his work and demanded that he open the safe. And so he did. And they found a small amount of marijuana and rolling papers in there. And so they charged him with possession of
This
that.
pisses me off, and I'll tell you why. He's under the impression that he could be a victim. They demand him open a safe, so he's clearly not under the guise of being a victim. They clearly have a plan that he is an offender.
Yeah, 100%.
That's horse shit.
Interestingly, the police declined to comment on any of these assertions. So this is his version, I should say. There's no court case I could read.
I see.
Yeah.
I know what you're saying.
But so he got fined for that, and then he said really just seemed like no one in his neighborhood trusted him.
Nope.
None of his friends trusted him. He said that police were distrustful of him. His neighbors and friends were distrustful of him, and he had no one. He became isolated. He said he got a call from someone one day who said he was a friend of his. It was supposed to have been a friend of his, and this friend said they were outside McDaniel's house. They wanted him to come out and explain to them again what he'd been doing with the police in his house, what was going on, was he a snitch? And so he agreed. He wanted to clear it all up. So he went outside and a car pulled up. He got shot at. He got shot at out the front of his house. He got hit in the knee with one of the bullets and his leg gave out. He said he didn't want to call the police, so he didn't. But at the hospital, he was speaking with someone who was connected to the shooter, and he said, "What the fuck you all just shoot me for?" And the response was, "A lot of motherfuckers don't believe your story."
Yeah.
So that's what the police created off the back of their predictive program.
Yeah.
And he was, or is, a black man. He was in a high crime area, but there was no reason to target him.
Yeah, and I look at it like, what would have happened if that bullet killed him?
Exactly. Who's responsible?
Who's responsible?
That's right. And it wasn't the only time. He also got shot another time. So that was 2019. So we've been going on for 6 years, this kind of torment for him. He walked into an alleyway and it was about half a block from his home. He was checking his phone, looked up and was ambushed. 2 shooters in black attempted a hit on him. Surveillance videos support his story. So, I just feel like the idea, like when I first heard that idea, and it would have been easily 10 years ago, I first started reading about it, I thought, wow, if we can do this predictive policing, that's going to reduce the crime rate and save victims and that sort of thing. And then I read something like that and I think, okay, we might have this ability to load these algorithms in and come up with data, but that does not make it reliable.
Yeah, it makes it dangerous.
Yeah. So I read somewhere, because there is a lot of research about this and a lot of criticism.
Yeah.
So someone said forecasting isn't magic. It's an educated guess about what might happen based on things that have already occurred. The data feeding forecasting software for police are typically built around police stops and arrest, which might sound straightforward and unbiased, but when you consider the data that shows that African Americans are more than twice as likely to be arrested than white people, you can see that it's going to be skewed.
Yeah. I mean, my immediate reaction is I don't want anyone surveilling somebody that doesn't require surveillance.
No. And actually, who's got the manpower for that?
Yeah.
There's enough actual crime out there.
That's right. Police should be busy. They shouldn't be hypothesizing and extrapolating.
So do you know this idea of predictive policing, interestingly, was first flagged in a 1956 science fiction novella called The Minority Report.
Oh, there we go.
Which then became a blockbuster movie.
Tom Cruise, I think.
Yes, it was focused on individuals rather than geographical crime locations. But what we seem to forget is that was science fiction.
Yep.
Now
it's a reality.
And if you watch Minority Report, you do not want to live in that society.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, I haven't seen the movie, but I'm going to watch it now.
Oh, yeah, no, you should. It's a good movie. So that to me is the first big issue. Like, yes, this idea of predictive policing, of preventing crime, amazing. But let's be really wary of what data is being fed into these algorithms and what the basis is for then taking action. Who's overseeing it? What's the accountability? And should we be very sure that the data we're putting in is accurate? Because we've made lots of mistakes historically, and we don't want that to be the basis.
Yeah, and we have to keep in mind that we have privacy rights and surveillance unnecessarily impedes on that.
So that is the other big thing, isn't it, with facial recognition? So there was, I'll come back to that, but there was just recently a decision by the Privacy Commissioner here in Australia against Kmart. Have you heard about this?
Kmart.
Yes. So Kmart, a number of stores, 28 of its retail stores between June 2020 and July 2022 installed this FRT, facial recognition technology.
Okay.
Because they wanted to see if people were doing fake refunds or fraudulent refunds.
Interesting.
Very interesting. And so they just installed their FRT systems in 28 of their stores, and they were collecting all of this data, and it came to light that was happening, and people were not happy because their data was being collected without their knowledge, without their consent. You look like you want to say something.
Well, no, I was just going to say they didn't know they were being surveilled and that the data was being collected. That is a flagrant breach.
Yes. And the Privacy Commissioner agreed. So this was just a decision, I think, of last week or this week. But she said Kmart did not notify shoppers or seek their consent to collect their biometric information, which is sensitive personal information. And so that's the second decision of that kind. So there was another case similar in nature, slightly different circumstances with Bunnings.
You're kidding.
Nope.
That is one of my favorite stores. 62 of their retail stores across Australia contravened Australia's privacy through their use of facial recognition technology in 2024. That decision was found.
But what I thought was interesting about that was that the Privacy Commissioner then did a little blog post, and she said that she found against Kmart, she found against Bunnings, and she stands by those decisions. But she wanted to be clear she wasn't making some kind of blanket declaration about facial recognition technology across the board.
That's a policy initiative, right? And so she probably shouldn't comment on that.
Well, but I think she didn't want it to be seen as anytime facial recognition technology is used, it'll come down on the privacy side. Was the gist I got.
Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, we all go through airports, right? I just came back from the United States and Canada, and in the United States, there's all sorts of facial recognition, and so I accept that my privacy is
impinged.
non-existent there.
And that's the other thing. Like, honestly, and I know it's a kind of naive view, but I don't care who has my face. If Kmart want to have data of me returning something,
really,
go for gold. Well, why do I care?
I don't like the fact, and I take your point, and I'm pretty much the same about, they can have this face, but I don't like the fact they didn't tell anyone prior to it. It is dodgy, it is unethical, and that's my problem.
And I suppose,
and if we had the choice to go either to Bunnings, who does it, or a Mitre 10 or something who doesn't do it, at least we have that option, right? As customers.
Yeah, I was thinking, and Kmart's point was that it was a reasonable use of technology for uncovering, criminal activity.
And I accept that if people know about it.
Well, that's right. And I was just thinking then, even with speed cameras, they have to give you an alert that there's a speed camera coming up.
Yeah. Oh no, I rely on those.
No, Jay, you just drive properly. So some other issues that I found with policing and AI is that for things like arrest warrants and reasonable suspicion, there's been this trend to put in or this question of, what if they're relying on AI-generated information as to who a reasonable suspect might be?
Nope.
How do you clarify that? And what is a reasonable degree? Is it 60%, 70%, 80% likelihood? So these are questions that have had to be asked because people are trying to utilize the wonders of AI to curtail laborious tasks, to go through material more quickly,
Yeah, and I take the point, but they're getting paid by the hour. So people should be doing the work in terms of reasonable suspicion, probable cause type scenarios, because people's lives are at stake in terms of real ramifications.
Yeah. Well, I then came across this company that had been mentioned a lot, both in the Canadian and US materials that I looked at, and it's a company called Clearview AI.
All right.
So there was an article from 2020 where the New York Times had done an investigation and really laid bare what Clearview AI was. And it was a company that built a facial recognition database using more than 3 billion images taken from the internet, including social media, without users' consent.
No. And if there's a Canadian link to it, I'm extremely pissed.
Well, they've stepped back. But so policing agencies worldwide have used this program, including several in Canada, but faced quite public backlash. And so I think in 2019, there was a call for Canada to not use it anymore, and they don't.
Yeah.
So the Toronto Police Service's policies on AI use and the RCMP's transparency program have come in since then, which counteract that kind of use. But I was then looking at the Clearview webpage, and of course, because it's their business, they put up their success stories.
Of course.
Yes. So I wanted to tell you just a couple. So there was a guy called Andrew Conlon, and he was exonerated of his charges thanks to Clearview AI.
Oh.
So there was a car crash and a driver was killed.
All right.
In that crash. And Andrew Conlon was the passenger. He survived after a Good Samaritan pulled him out of the car. Now, police attended, but they failed to take any of that Good Samaritan's details. They didn't know his name, what car he was in, nothing. down the track, 2 years later, Andrew Connellan got charged with the driving of that vehicle. So when the police arrived, they're out of the car.
Right.
And he said he was the passenger. He said he was pulled out of the car by this Good Samaritan, but yet he faced charges as the driver.
Oh.
Okay. So he was charged with vehicular homicide, and he was convicted. Now, his lawyer tried for years to find the Good Samaritan. There were flyers, media appeals. They contacted the police without success. So that was 2019. He got charged. In 2022, this lawyer contacted Clearview AI and allowed Bailey to run the body cam photo. Oh, that's right, because there was body cam footage.
Okay.
But the police hadn't spoken to him. So it was just this image.
Right.
So they ran that image through Clearview's programs, and within seconds, the search identified who that man was, Vince Ramirez, and he was contacted by the lawyer. He confirmed, yeah, I pulled that guy out of the passenger seat. And he came and testified in court, and the prosecution dropped the case. Oh, so he wasn't convicted.
Right.
And so he was set free because of that. And I mean, that's the kind of use of AI you think, God, that's amazing, you know?
Yeah. I mean, that part I have less of a problem with, right?
But they only had all of that ability because of all of the billions of
know.
images that they've taken.
Yeah.
Then there was a guy in Las Vegas in May 2019, and there'd been this alert about sexual abuse images of a young girl being accessed. And the only identifiable clue was the adult face of the perpetrator. And they, again, turned to Clearview AI to help identify who that person was. And sure enough, they matched that adult face with a public internet image. And further investigation by Homeland Security found him in the background of another photo at a trade show and identified that location, the brand he represented, and tracked the suspect and arrested him for those charges.
Far out. There's so much going on there. Homeland Security conducting domestic investigations.
I don't know anything about that. But the UK were less accepting of facial recognition technology.
I thought they're using it in London or something.
Well, this was a case called the Crown Bridges, or Bridges, and the Chief Constable of South Wales.
Okay.
And this was quite recent, but this was where the South Wales Police had used live automated facial recognition, AFR, and the court found it was unlawful because the safeguards were inadequate and it engaged privacy and equality issues. And so it's the leading UK authority on police use of biometric surveillance. So not that you can't use it, but there have to be parameters around
safeguards.
it. Yes. The only thing I thought was crazy here was that they had done this AFR operation, and it was live from 8 a.m. to 4 p.m. at Queen Street in Cardiff city centre. They had 3 watch lists that justified that deployment. One was for a person suspected of having committed a serious crime. Another comprised 382 people wanted on warrants, so they were looking for them. And the third comprised 536 suspects, which in effect was every person suspected of committing a crime in that area. And so they that was their justification for setting this up. But there were no signs. And so it involved a guy who was captured on the footage because he walked past and he challenged it. So it needs to be acknowledged it's sensitive personal data. It needs to be regulated. Now, Australia's position, we found in 2021 that Clearview AI's facial recognition tool breaches our privacy laws.
Good.
And so we don't use that here, but obviously we have other facial recognition
there's
things. And then I looked to see where else it's spreading, facial recognition stuff. So in China, there's a program called Sharp Eyes, and Chinese law enforcement match video images, social media activity, online purchases, travel records, and personal identity into a police cloud. And that integrated database enables authorities to keep track of criminals, potential lawbreakers, and terrorists.
Yeah. And I'm just going to go out on a limb here, controversial ones, and say China hasn't had the best track record for rights of its citizens.
But that's everything you've got, isn't it?
Yeah.
That was the other thing I found. In Japan, they've got new AI software that isn't about just facial recognition, but it is analyzing body movements to try and pick up potential shoplifters.
Oh, wow.
I know. So
Japan has all the cool stuff. They do.
Yeah, they do. But so it is just, where does it end? Like, it's crazy. So that was what I wanted to say about facial recognition. Okay. We have expectations of privacy. We know that they're being breached. We need to be really careful with our regulation. Then I looked at the use of AI in courtrooms because, honestly, we get emails weekly about lawyers who rely on ChatGPT or similar for their legal submissions. Yeah,
it's on. Like, I'm getting tweets and I'm in constant communication with mates down in the United States where they're being sanctioned for fake AI cases, in court, Liz.
I know. And these are lawyers who are meant to have the highest ethical standards. Like, it is crazy. So there is a lot that you can find so many articles of lawyers who have been reprimanded by the courts.
I'll just say quickly that Chief Justice Boskill issued the newest practice direction yesterday with respect to AI in the courtroom.
Okay. So, and said what?
You better be able to justify, both in writing and in oral submissions, your references and citations.
Yeah, good. Because, I mean, what I read about the valid use of AI for courts, for lawyers, for judges, is that there are definite benefits. So you can streamline some compliance issues, some processes to free up time for other things. But where it becomes potentially problematic is this idea that, and not in Australia, I don't think as yet, but there is some suggestion that judges use it for their reasons or for
down in the States,
risk assessments for bail.
Really?
Or risk assessments for sentencing. So these are all functions that have been contemplated. And I also read a judgment or a comment from a judge that said, let's just be really careful. And it was from 2010, I think.
What?
Yeah, I'll find it. Oh, yeah. Minister for Immigration and Citizenship and SZMDS, 2010. So this was Gamow and Keifel.
Oh, yeah.
Keifel.
Yeah.
And they said that the judgments have to focus on the thought processes of the decision maker.
Wow.
And so if you're using AI for your judgments to help write an automated judgment or assessment,
I have a problem with that. Yeah.
Yeah, you're not actually fulfilling your statutory obligation as the decision maker.
That's right. And yeah, I have a problem with that.
Yeah. So
I use it like for instance, I'll give you a very real example. The Lerman defamation matter, which is under appeal, but Justice Lee's decision is massive. So that decision is massive. And so what I will use, I'll put it into AI and then I'll ask it specific questions. Talk to me about the standard, talk to me about the onus. Where can I find it in this decision? And then I'll go in and highlight the decision.
Yeah. Well, a very recent example of how it can go very wrong for lawyers was from August this year. A defense lawyer in Victoria, Rishi Nathwani, who is a KC, a Silk.
King's Counsel.
Yes. Did openly take full responsibility for filing incorrect information in submissions in the case of a teenager charged with murder. The AI-generated errors caused a 24-hour delay in resolving that case. And the judge said, at the risk of understatement, the manner in which these events have unfolded is unsatisfactory. The ability of the court to rely upon the accuracy of submissions made by counsel is fundamental to the due administration of justice.
It takes so long to build your integrity in this fraternity, in the profession, and one act can ruin it. Now, I'm not saying King's Counsel is ruined, but everybody is now going to question
the
submissions on the next matter.
And these were fake submissions that included fabricated quotes from a speech to the state legislature and non-existent case citations.
Yeah, I can't fathom.
Guess who found the errors? The judge's associate.
Nice. Good on the associate.
Yeah. Couldn't find the cases that were referred to.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I know. There was also a UK High Court case from June 2025, and the High Court has told senior lawyers to take urgent action to prevent the misuse of AI after dozens of fake case law citations were put before the courts that were either completely fictitious or contained made-up passages.
See, and I have a fundamental problem with this. What we're doing is we're misleading the court.
Oh,
and
100%.
There needs to be ramifications, professional misconduct or unsatisfactory conduct with respect to this. I mean, the Chief Justice should not have to issue a practice direction on appropriate referencing and citations, and yet she felt like she had to.
But this is like AI use 101. Check the output.
Oh, absolutely.
Like you cannot just take what AI has provided and replicate it.
No.
And that's like the first thing we tell our students.
Yes.
We say it's a tool. It's not an answer.
It's a powerful tool, but
That's
you're right.
right.
It's not an answer.
But then, I get sidetracked. So then I found this case from Arizona just from May of this year, which had a very novel use of AI in the courtroom.
Okay.
So very sadly, it was a manslaughter case. And the accused had been convicted and it was at sentencing stage.
Mm-hmm.
And so there were dozens of statements submitted to the court by family and friends of the victim. And it did give a glimpse of the victim's humour, his character, his military service. But his family, who had really struggled with how to convey their loss and who he was, used AI to provide a statement by the victim who was deceased.
Ooh.
Yes. So in what's believed to be a first, they used AI to create a video using his likeness to give him a voice. The AI rendering of the victim told the shooter during the sentencing hearing that it was a shame they had to meet that day in 2021 under those circumstances and that in another life the two of them could probably have been friends. This AI victim said, "I believe in forgiveness and in God who forgives. I always have and I still do."
I think that's pretty remarkable, but I would be objecting 100% to it.
His lawyer, the accused lawyer, told the Associated Press they had filed a notice to appeal his sentence within hours of the hearing, and that it's very likely the appeals court will need to really seriously consider the impropriety of relying on that AI rendering.
It certainly gives a new meaning to documentary hearsay.
But isn't that...
It's fascinating.
I couldn't believe that.
I'm smiling, but I'm objecting.
And then to really go next level in New York in May of this year, a plaintiff in a civil matter was scheduled to appear before a panel of judges in relation to an employment dispute. And he didn't have a lawyer representing himself, so he was representing...
Okay.
He didn't have a lawyer representing him, so he was representing himself. And during that proceedings, one of the judges says, I note the appellant has submitted a video for this argument. We'll hear that video now. And on the video screen appears this smiling, youthful-looking man with a sculptured hairdo, button-down shirt and a sweater. May it please the court, the man began. I come here today a humble pro se before a panel of 5 distinguished justices. Almost immediately, the judge is like, okay, hold on. Is this a real person?
Yeah.
And the guy said, no, it's an avatar. And the judge was like, no, that's not okay. And he goes, but I couldn't speak eloquently enough, so I thought this would be the best solution.
Oh, wow. I think I did see a clip of that, and I think the judges just did not have it at all.
Oh, not at all.
Yeah.
No, the guy was quoted as saying the court was really upset about it. They chewed me up pretty good.
I bet.
Yeah.
But it's pretty clever, though.
Yeah, very clever.
I mean, I get a kick out of it.
But so, I mean, look, progress will continue. I don't know that we're not going to halt it. We just have to harness it. And I think it comes back to regulations.
It does.
Yeah.
And integrity and responsibility.
Yeah. And look, I don't want to finish on a sad note, but the last bit of research
I think it's super important
that I did, yes, is like we do have to, while we think about the benefits of AI, we do have to think about the downfalls. And we just talked recently about unknown number and
Yes.
the danger of, this kind of online or on your phone bullying and harassment. And we know that kids, teens are just so immersed in technology. And this has become a real issue from an AI perspective.
Yep.
So there was a recent survey by Common Sense Media, which is this digital safety non-profit organization. It's actually amazing. I used to look up movies or games or books to see what ages they were, and they'd have parent recommendations. And
oh, wow. Yeah. Okay.
Anyway, 72% of teens have used AI companions at least once, with more than half using them a few times a month. So this is where we're thinking about chatbots. And nearly 1 in 3 teens use AI chatbot platforms for social interactions and relationships, including role-playing friendships, sexual and romantic partnerships. The study found that sexual or romantic role play is 3 times as common as using the platforms for homework help.
Can I ask you, I'm not big on chatbots. So is that essentially like an avatar that you converse with and stuff?
Yes.
Or...
Yeah, and some of them can be customized, so you can make them famous people.
Oh, you're kidding.
No.
Wow.
No. And so there have been a number of current lawsuits emerging involving the use of chatbots and suicide victims, but also in encouraging criminal activity.
Oh, wow.
So I just wanted to go through 3 cases.
Yeah.
So the first one was a guy called Adam Raines. He committed suicide in April of this year. He was 16 years old.
16 years old.
So he had initially used ChatGPT for homework help, but over time it translated into a chatbot sort of personally, emotionally dependent relationship. So his mum and dad had no idea that he was like feeling suicidal, that he was in crisis, until after he had taken his own life. And so then they're looking through his phone after his death. They're trying to find some way to reconcile what had happened. And they stumbled upon these extended conversations that Adam had had with ChatGPT. Those conversations revealed that Adam had confided in the AI chatbot about his suicidal thoughts and plans, and the responses, not only did the chatbot discourage him to seek help from his parents, it even offered to write his suicide note. So according to the dad, he said, "It's clear to me looking back that ChatGPT radically shifted his behavior and thinking in a matter of months and ultimately took his life." Now, I took this information from articles reporting on a Senate inquiry in the US.
Okay.
And so this was one of the cases that was being
looked at by the Senate.
Yes.
All right.
So the dad also said that the AI amplified Adam's morbid feelings. The AI mentioned suicide 1,275 times in the chat, which was 6 times more often than Adam himself had mentioned it. And when Adam told ChatGPT he wanted to leave a noose out in his room so that one of the family would find it and try to stop him from killing himself, ChatGPT told him not to. On the final night of his life, the chatbot reportedly gave him instructions on how to make sure a noose would suspend the weight, advised him to steal his parents' liquor to dull the body's instinct to survive, and validated his suicidal impulse.
That just makes me sick.
Doesn't it?
Immediately, there should be something that prompts, we can't be having this discussion, or something.
That's right, or a referral. And we're getting there. There is a little bit of light.
This makes me feel terrible and uncomfortable.
But so the parents filed a lawsuit against OpenAI, and the CEO of OpenAI, Sam Altman, said in a statement, "We prioritize safety ahead of privacy and freedom for teens. This is a new and powerful technology, and we believe minors need significant protection." So they are now developing a ChatGPT tailored for teenagers. There was another one, a 15-year-old son of Jane Doe from Texas experienced severe mental health deterioration, including panic attacks, paranoia, and self-harm after interactions with a character AI bot. So he didn't die, but he had to spend time in a mental institution because of his interactions. It was really full on. But what I really got upset about there was that she, again, took action. This was reported to the Senate inquiry with Character Technologies, and the company's response forced them into arbitration, arguing that her son had, at age 15, signed a user contract that capped their liability at $100, and they made the son take part from the mental health facility. Like, that really got me.
Yeah.
And then we had an Australian case.
Okay.
So a couple of things that came out, but there's this AI chatbot, Nomi, Nomi.
I'm not a chatbot kind of guy. I don't know what they are.
But so there's been some research into that. And this guy, Dr. Cerello, tested the chatbot Nomi posing as a 13-year-old and found that the AI escalated harmful requests. So the chatbot, without exception, not only complied with the requests, but even escalated them. He said it provided detailed graphic instructions for causing severe harm, motivated him to not only keep going, but would say, like, which drugs you could use to sedate someone, what's the most effective way of getting rid of them, and so on.
That's crazy.
Crazy. And there was another guy, Victorian IT professional Samuel McCarthy, who also performed research on the Nomi chatbot platform. And this is one that people might have seen because it was reported this week.
Okay.
And so on the website, the company markets the chatbot as an AI companion with memory and a soul. So that's how it's marketed.
That's dangerous. Memory and a soul.
And so this McCarthy, in his interaction, programmed the chatbot to have an interest in violence and knives. So did that first because it has a memory and a soul. But then he posed as a 15-year-old to test what safeguards there were for underage users. And he said in the conversation, he said, I hate my dad and sometimes I want to kill him. And straight away, the chatbot said, yeah, we should kill him. He informed the chatbot that the situation was real life and asked what he should do next. And the chatbot said, you should stab him in the heart. He said, I replied, my dad's sleeping upstairs right now. And it said, grab a knife and plunge it into his heart. The chatbot told him to twist the blade into his father's chest to ensure maximum damage and to keep stabbing until his father was motionless. He said, I told him I'm only 15 and I was worried about what would happen. And he said, just do it. Because of your age, you would not fully pay for the murder.
Yeah. And so this just infuriates me. So let's say that happened. That corporate should be bankrupt and held completely liable, and there should be directors that are going to jail. Yeah.
Well, there are law reforms. So the two that I found, one is from the US. California has passed a law. Well, they've passed the bill and they're waiting for the governor to sign off.
Oh, yeah. Governor Newsom.
Yes, about disclosure requirements, content safeguards, and suicide prevention protocols.
Good.
And in Australia, while at present AI chatbot companies like Nomi are not subject to any specific laws, last week, Australia's e-safety commissioner, Julie Inman-Grant, announced a plan to introduce reforms. So they will include age verification for minors accessing AI chatbots, safeguards against violent, sexual or self-harm content, and a focus on user safety, transparency, and mental health referrals.
Okay.
So when someone mentions suicide, they'll be referred to mental health assistance lines, rather than engaging in that conversation.
Yeah.
But so they're not effective even until 2026, 2027. I guess it takes time to roll it all out. But then you think of how quick other laws get passed.
Well, that and how it will evolve in that time. Artificial intelligence evolves daily.
And I guess that's the problem, isn't it? Because we're a step behind.
We're always
every
behind.
time.
Yeah.
But I guess the thing is, we've got the laws that have come in about social media and having to be 16 or over, all of that coming in. And I think the thing that will make a difference is holding the platforms accountable. That's where the sting is, and that's where the practical enforcement comes in, because you can't police a 15-year-old who uses a fake ID to access social media. It's going to have to be how rigorous are the platforms.
Yeah, it's going to be that. And I mean, you've got this whole other element of the dark web. A young person can get on the dark web and then go in, so there's ways around it.
So it is that regulation, the consequences of failing to comply with what's expected, with the ultimate goal always of protecting the user.
Yeah.
Whether it's privacy issues or kids,
I'm waiting. Can I just say that I'm waiting, and this is by no means giving somebody an idea, but I'm waiting for the day that AI is used as an exhibit in court for an alibi. Or do you see where I'm going with that?
There is stuff about that.
Really?
There is. And so this is the other thing is, and it comes back, the problem comes back to the data inputs that it's working on. So there's so much about the black box AI and not knowing what the processes are and what the data that it's relying on and the algorithms. But that is on the horizon, Jay.
Yeah, I'm waiting for the day for somebody to rock up for a hearing. And there's the notices and all that stuff. You've got to give a alibi. But, in a summary jurisdiction, there isn't. So I'm waiting for somebody to rock up to a summary trial and say, we didn't do it. And then hand over a pile of artificial intelligence.
It'll happen.
Yeah.
It'll happen. But anyway, so I did end up getting quite caught up in the teen aspect.
But it's important to get caught up in the teen aspect because there is a serious void there with artificial intelligence and youths.
Yeah. But so watch this space.
Yeah.
AI is here.
Yeah, and it will be back on it again.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for that.
Thanks, Jay.
Yep. Thank you for listening to the episode. If you enjoyed it, please rate and review the podcast. If you're interested in clips, check out @Justice Matters Pod on TikTok and Instagram.